This is the Ministry of Silly Talk.
Silly Talk. Ministry of Silly Talk.
This is the Ministry.
This is the Ministry of
Silly Talk. This is the Ministry of
Silly Talk.
Thank you for listening to my Daddy's Stupid Podcast. And remember, his head is full of doo-doo, so don't listen to anything he says.
That's very funny.
And we're back. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Ministry of Silly Talk podcast. We're welcoming you all back. As usual, this episode is brought to you by Shirt Caviar. Use promo code OGA to save 10% on your order today. Shirt Caviar. Ain't that some shirt?
It sure is. And then we have the hotline. It's 847-665-9238. No one calls or texts, and we need that to happen, so please.
Let's get on that. On the note of Shirt Caviar, don't forget the Oh, by the way, I'm Killing Cupid mixtape available on YouTube at Not Having It. And while we're at it, why don't we discuss the Patreon, patreon.com/OneGramArmy. There is more content going up daily, old episodes of previous podcasts, and the brand new podcast, Porch Pirates, which you will start seeing if you start subscribing.
That's right. You got to subscribe to unlock it.
Yep.
But like, comment, and subscribe on all the places you see podcasts and listen to podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, etc.
Yep, and share it with your friends. So we are back, and last week we unveiled a new segment called The News, and there's a follow-up to some news from last week, so let's get into that as soon as I can find the intro. There we go.
Welcome to the news here on WFART. And here are your hosts, Josh and Graham.
All right, so last week we discussed, as part of America Under Attack, the Major League Baseball removing the poop games. With baseball arriving soon, too. I've been very excited, catching up on all the news. For those of you who don't know, the poop games was when the score was 0-0 when the Phillies and Pirates were playing.
What? Is there Phillies or Pirates versus Orioles, a poo game?
You'd have to have three teams playing, I think, to sort that. Oh, just like P-O-O-O-O. Yeah.
It would just be like an extra poo.
Yeah. Any of that has been taken from us.
All of it.
Yeah, because
they redesigned
the way the graphic looks, because it would be P00P.
Can they not ask the people who are enjoying this what we want?
They have to know that people want that. It's just a small little enjoyable part.
There's like one lady that works at the Phillies who doesn't like that.
Yeah, there's some stuffy shirt was like, I keep seeing these poop memes and this is very serious. I'm like, it's baseball.
Someone wore this T-shirt to the game.
Yeah, they keep seeing poop memes about our, and it's like,
yeah, we sell those in the pro shop. I don't know.
Yeah, come on. It's if anything,
this is Philadelphia, for God's sake. We're throwing batteries.
Yeah, if anything, it's better marketing. But in that vein of discussing MLB and their marketing, we're hat guys.
Yeah.
If you watched the program, I was gifted by you a whole bunch of hats. This hat was a gift from you from a find during one of your job site visits.
Oh yeah.
And more than that to come. But
to come. Okay.
Yeah. That's gonna be great later.
Yeah.
Your kids are
We're gonna call back to that.
Your
one.
Kids are gonna love it.
Yeah.
But every year, Major League Baseball or New Era, whoever is the hat contract du jour, they make new designed hats for every season. And this season is no exception. I don't particularly enjoy the designs this year, but the designs are the name of the team and then their logo.
The only image I've seen of this before I came over here was an image of like all of them.
Yeah.
So like I could see them, but I was just like looking for the Braves,
They're all right, and the Braves one does look okay. And these design hats are always very subjective anyway. And
a lot of it has to do with the team name and their logo and coloring. All of that makes a big difference.
Yeah, and some are better than others. And And every year there's something different. I remember when they did the upside down ones, which I didn't enjoy as much. People seem to really like that, especially as a Cubs fan. The C upside down just looked backwards. It wasn't.
I don't think that's cool.
I didn't enjoy that. But they'll do things like where the team name is written down the side, it's slightly cut off, or it's like an old logo.
Well, I like what the NFL did this year, where they kind of brought back the old school 80s type of hat.
Yeah,
that had
with the little string. Yeah,
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it is tough as a Bears fan because our color scheme is atrocious.
That orange and blue is hard. Man.
No,
if you had
it's
like a
tough.
maroon or something instead of an orange, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is
So
tough.
the navy blue, but it's that orange.
No, the orange is brutal, and then the all orange stuff looks bad. It's the Cubs probably are a top tier fashionable.
Well, let's be real. Blue and red,
that goes.
they just go.
Yeah,
blue, red, and
exactly.
white goes.
Yep. Yeah, and the Bears though, I not only because they are terrible and I don't want to support them until they start doing well, but I rarely every year for baseball I'll get myself some new doohickey Cubs related fashion thing.
No, you do have Bears regalia, but a lot of it's Urlacher or something.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
And in this day and age, it's all very old.
Yeah.
I say that obviously,
But I would say you're a bigger baseball person than football, and a definite Cubs above any other sports situation.
No, it is the case. But I am a huge Bears fan.
No, you are.
But they suck, so
It makes it harder,
yeah, you hear about it from me less. But no, I enjoy baseball season. Even I can tolerate a shitty Cubs season more, and football is different because if your team sucks real bad, it's like they suck, and then there's a week of waiting for the next game, and then they suck and
again.
there's a week, and the season's kind of short.
Well,
So
at least in baseball, you can blame it on a slump. Like your best guy's just having a hard couple months instead of my quarterback is the worst.
Right.
Not saying that that's the case, but
No, yeah, the team. There's some sort of horrible systemic issue with the team where they can't get it together.
Yeah, the coach is Urban Meyer or something.
Right.
It's just something terrible.
Yeah. Or in the Bears case, often I'm not jinxing them, but I like what's going on now. But since Lovie Smith, the Bears have been like, here's a guy you've either never heard of or a guy who loses all the time, and that's all he's ever done is lose.
That's weird to me how that happens. Like that guy from Atlanta, Arthur Smith, a few years ago, was the head coach in Atlanta. And I think he went to Steelers now.
Yeah.
As an assistant or something. Like I understand those lateral or those moves where it's like someone was a good OC, but they just didn't have a head coach in them, so they go back to OC. But being a terrible head coach and then going to head coach again for millions on millions of dollars, I don't.
Yeah, there was, and I don't know that it's quite as prevalent as it once was, but there was especially like in what I consider the golden era of the NFL, like the early to mid 2000s, like there were guys like that guy in Cleveland and Dave Wannstedt, and there was just like a laundry list of coaches who had just proven they were losers over and over and over again, but just kept getting jobs. There were plenty of teams in the NFL for a long time, and that probably still exist, where, to be honest, you could take some like Madden nerd and let him do the play calling.
That's basically what that kid in Miami is. I mean,
yeah, and you could let them do that. And I don't know that the outcome would be any worse and possibly better, but there is like this fraternity of loser head coaches that keep.
Now think about it like, this is kind of weird, but like if you had an AI football coach that was, trained up on the film and all that shit, and then, you have him on a goddamn iPad or whatever, or just in the quarterback's ear.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt that I got to put the news music back on because we're getting back to the news. Here on the news. Here on the news. But yeah, no, I'm sure that would be coming at some point. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's probably already being played with, because you could imagine how much money you would save as an organization on having,
whenever they perfect that
people.
Neuralink or whatever that stuff is that they talk about, the implants.
Yeah, that's.
You don't think for a second that those billionaire owners aren't going to be like, here, this guy. Put this in, so now you never miss a play or whatever.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're just constant feedback of what's going on around you. It's watching your blind side. Yeah, exactly. I got off topic there. Poop games, Major League Baseball hats.
Yes.
So this was where the comedy comes in. Major League Baseball has these hats, and they just recently, again, taking things from people that they enjoyed. There's 3 hats that they had to take off of the market
Instantly.
because of, and they were available for a little while. So people who have them have collector's items now.
I would love that.
Yeah, but so the Texans, the Astros, and the Angels, they had to take their hats down because of how the scheme worked out. So for Texas, if you're watching, you can see this hat.
Titas.
Yeah, which is Spanish
That's
for tits.
And all they would have to do was cross that X in blue over the front of that T.
Yep.
That's all you got to do.
Well, but it's lazy. You know, they just went ahead and released the hat, but it says Tetas, and I'm like, that's pretty good.
Especially being from Texas.
And
the correlation.
The Astros, you just got to read this one out.
Ashos.
The Ashos. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, no, and I despise the Houston Astros for a variety of reasons, but if I get my hand on that hat, I would wear it.
Bro, that hat
all the
with
time.
that old school striped Astros white.
It would go
from
hard.
The 70s.
Yeah. Or if you could get a custom one where the shirt said "ass hose" on it, you'd really be styling.
Shirtcaviar.com.
Tony, if you're listening,
Tony, help us out.
If you're listening, and we know that you are, maybe you may need
Extra
to figure out a
large.
way to get in on this. And then the Angels was another one that took me a second, but you got to read that one out loud, and it says anals.
Yeah, sure does.
Yeah. So these 3, this is another thing too, though, that is like,
That also fits.
yeah, it does, because they are
West Hollywood.
and they're terrible. No, it's I don't. Yeah, that's the other thing too about the Los Angeles Angels is they're in Anaheim, which I don't think is really
No,
anywhere
it's-
near L.A.
That's
But
Orange County.
But it is. I could see moving a few of these units in certain markets. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Why take them off? I could see change it.
I'm assuming that's what they're gonna do.
But yeah, I could say change it, but let me have this option.
Yeah.
Don't let them wear it on the field.
Yeah.
Can I buy it?
Yeah, exactly.
You've already made 200,000 of them.
Yeah,
let me
sell it
buy
to it.
one.
Yeah.
and
if
you
you're-
can sell it for $70 because it's weird. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly. And that's my thought process there too. Is
I would buy all 3 and wear them constantly.
no, because they're
Hilarious.
hilarious.
Yeah.
No, they're fantastic, and it's like the poop games. It's like, here's this mildly enjoyable thing that you took away. On the other side of that, it speaks to the laziness of marketing and baseball and the way everything is, because these hats got designed.
By AI.
Yeah, probably.
That's why I didn't get caught.
Yeah, and that somebody presumably had to sign off on the anals hat and the Tetas and the
How
ass
do you
hose.
not instantly see that?
Yeah, this was the only one where when I saw the 3, because the first 2 were so obvious.
Yeah.
This is when I was like anals, and I was like, oh, anals. But it only took like a tenth of a second. But Tetas was really obvious. If I had to pick a favorite, it's ass hose, because that one there's a beat there, right, where it's like walking
at
by.
first,
There's
Ash,
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And the thing, the ass hose is not, all of these besides the anals one is, but like that one,
Yeah.
it just kind of looks like an Astro because I can see the T and the R.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but
The H
Yeah.
being really hyper fixate, like the white or silver color, though,
Yeah.
like really makes the H stand out, which prevents, when I'm reading it, prevents me from saying ash, because it's just like, it's the first part of Astros, which is
Yeah.
ass, and then an H and OS, and because I'm 12, it's ass hose, and I want one.
My brain went ash hose,
Yeah.
but then it was ass hose after I saw it.
Yeah, ass hose, anals, and Tetas.
Wearing it all the time.
Felt like I'd have a pretty good weekend in Vegas with these hats.
I mean,
yeah, but,
well, you know, this is actually a good little segue. We're talking about Tata's anals, and
oh, we're getting into it. Hold on, wait. Before we get into it, I recorded this. We got to use it.
yes. White trash regalia, another southern oddity.
Let me walk folks into this real quick before we get into it. Josh owns a successful garbage removal business, and is often, we haven't used this segment since like the first or second episode, so I'm
Yeah.
happy to see it making a return. But there isn't anything to show, but there is things to tell, and I'm going to turn it right over to you.
Yeah, okay.
here
The
for a
reason there's nothing to
description.
show is because what I'm about to tell. Okay, so we get contracted to clean out a house. This gentleman had passed away, and his family was cleaning out the house so they could sell it. Something that happens all the time.
Yeah.
So we go, and I give him a price and this and that. And now I've seen he has a lot of computer type stuff, music type equipment, a little bit here and there, desk and whatever.
Yeah.
A bunch of hard drives and stuff. I don't think nothing of it is trash to me. I'm throwing it in a dumpster.
Of course.
So we start working. Well, I'm collecting these hard drives because I think they might be worth money. I don't know. So I'm like
Yeah.
throwing them in a bag.
Well, and you are apt to, which is good. Like you
Yeah,
find some
if I find
technological or something,
something,
you'd be
yeah.
like, oh, we might be able to make something. Maybe you'll use this for
yeah.
something.
Or somebody
Yeah.
could use it.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
And about 30 minutes later, after I find this stuff and put it in the corner so I can put it in my truck,
Yeah.
Candace comes out of the bedroom holding. Now, Candace is my wife. Lovely, great, lovely individual.
Work together.
We work together, but she is a typical lady.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's very
Yeah.
demure and ladylike. She's not somebody that wants to be finding what we found.
Yeah.
She comes out of the closet, and it's like a 36 by 24 framed
A
poster.
full-size framed
Full-size.
poster.
Framed poster of like
How you going to describe
yeah.
this?
I'm just going to go with it. Pornographic centerfold.
Yeah.
He had a particular, so she shows me the first one, and it is, I'm not talking about just like a girl in a bikini.
Right.
I'm talking about a girl showing her insides
On a poster.
on a poster.
That's framed.
That's framed.
Yeah. Full gynecological
Exam
material.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, like, is that your uterus? But
Yeah.
anyway, so
On that note, not to interrupt, but that is something that I've discovered in my youth too about pornography and strip clubs and things of that nature, is that I'm not that interested in like the inside, that doesn't do like doesn't do anything
wanna
for
look at
me.
that. I
No,
wanna
yeah,
feel that. I
yeah,
wanna-
yeah. Whatever's going on in there to me is not visually pleasing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to see your insides. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah. It feels
It's really close to your intestines.
yeah,
I
it
don't
feels
know.
intrusive. But yeah, sorry.
So this is the first one she brings out. There were about 60. 60.
Whoa.
No, 60 framed already. Now they're all particular types of girls, mixed race.
Yeah, he's got a type.
He's got a type, and they're all just that type. And so this is the thing. So we're laughing. We see it, we laugh, and whatever.
Right.
Throw in a dumpster. Well, then we continue on, and the way we work, she kind of does the small stuff, and I grab big stuff, heavy stuff. Right?
Yeah.
So she happens to be in the closet in the bathroom of this guy's house, and then she starts finding more pornography, discs, CDs,
Yeah.
dildos, things that she didn't know how to describe to me and didn't know what it was. It was a fleshlight. She had found
yes.
several of them. And she's like, there's like these butt things in here. And so I told her, I said, oh, that's a fleshlight,
Yeah.
That's disgusting. Throw it away, whatever.
Yeah.
And then later on, she thought I was saying flashlight. She said, not a flash. And then she goes, oh, shit, a fleshlight.
The innocence of not
Yeah.
knowing what one of those is
Yeah,
adorable.
awesome.
Like, yeah.
So then she
Yeah,
finds this-
everybody knows what a flashlight
Then
is.
she finds a stack of
This old
DVDs, and the
penitentiary
first
trick.
one is where he's made it on his computer. He's
Oh,
printed
no.
something on it. It's like girls in their bikinis. And it
Yeah.
says Beach Babes, Volume 1,
Uh-huh.
Dildos in the Sand.
Well, we know the title of this episode now.
And we do.
Jesus. Dude. Does not that sequence of words does not seem appealing to me. Dildos in the sand. Sand shouldn't be
Anywhere near a dildo.
anywhere near anything that where it could be inserted, or sand just doesn't seem to have a place there.
No.
And that's for our younger listeners. As you grow and mature, you may find yourself in a romantic situation on a beach. Don't do it.
Hotel.
Yeah, that's why they got the hotels near the beach.
Go
'Cause
to the car at least.
yes, yeah, stay away from sand.
Yeah.
If you need to be told why, then find out for yourself.
Yeah.
But you've been warned. Because it's the opposite of lubrication.
I give him the grease.
Oh, so now this is just the.
Oh wait, that guy had dildos. I meant to be like, you know what he was doing with those.
Sticking in his ass.
So I go upstairs to the attic.
Oh man, there's more. This is like the most horrifying gooner house in history, dude.
Bro, in the attic,
What a
He
you run
had
across
at least-
collectors all the time.
This is a treat.
This is quite a collection.
He had 100, maybe 50, a lot.
Yeah.
Of the posters rolled with rubber bands and a bunch of empty frames that he's bought.
Push the microphone up a little bit. I just don't want to turn you
And
up too loud.
a bunch of empty frames he's bought from like Hobby Lobbies. Or
Like he just
whatever.
didn't get around.
He just hadn't got those frames yet.
It does beg the question though, right? Like, because obviously on the surface he's a collector of some kind for some reason. I'm assuming the fleshlights weren't all still in their original packaging though.
I didn't actually see them.
Yeah, but probably for the best.
I'm
Yeah.
sure they were used under the sink
Yeah.
situation. Yeah.
Oh, man, why keeping them under the sink? It's like it's Windex.
This is what I
wild,
feel like
too.
happened.
And why would you need more than one?
All the porno stuff was kind of hidden, but not really. I think
Yeah.
the nephew came in after he died. And I think he had that shit hung up, and he had it all around. And I think the nephew hid it so he didn't see it, and he'd be embarrassed when I was doing the bid. Because if it had been hanging up on the walls, that'd have been creepy to talk to a human being.
Yeah,
And then that's your uncle, and that's weird. You know what I'm
and you're
saying?
bringing
Yeah.
someone else into his house, and you're like,
that could be. I could see that'd be embarrassing because it looked like they had taken them off the wall and stacked them and thrown them in the closet.
yeah, I could
you know.
see that. Yeah,
Because why would he frame them and not have them on the wall?
To be fair, there's some decorum to that too, though. You know, a little bit of respect for the lost.
And
there.
here's my thing: as creepy and gross as it may sound,
yeah,
if everyone is of age and on the up and up, this guy is in his house. He lived by
Yeah.
himself. He
Yeah.
wasn't married.
his prerogative, of course.
A grown adult, whatever. But it's just a little too much for me, you know. But
it's well, and it's not uncommon. Like I was saying, in your line of work, and if you go back and watch some of the earlier episodes,
Yeah, we talk about
we've
it.
talked about it, and you've seen, and I've seen some of the regalia, if
Yeah.
you will, and the collections of things. So it's not uncommon to discover someone who has collections of things. This one is a little left of center. You know what I mean?
Well, and I
Little-
think maybe what makes it so strange is that we're in 2025, and
Yeah.
like this right here has every naked picture that's ever been made
yeah,
for free.
yeah, that's a
So does that.
Yeah, we have anything with a screen and an internet
I mean,
connection.
yeah, and he had computer screens and shit all, so he could have had a rotating video instead
Yeah,
of
just
still
digital.
posters, And I think he may have been a photographer because he had a lot of like old school lighting equipment and a couple of these looking things.
See, this is what leads me to this next question, though. The mystery that may never be solved is, I wonder if this person was in the industry in some
He may have been.
respect
I
at
found
some
about
point.
$20,000 of fake money. It looks real, but it says motion picture use only.
This guy, yeah, and if he's got camera equipment and lighting rigs like this, which actually just reminded me of something funny I was thinking about the other day, was because when I was sort of trying to revamp the podcast, there's a woman I knew who wanted to like maybe come over and get involved in podcasting or whatever, and it just kind of it fell apart. She's got a bunch of other stuff going on, but I remember being like, thinking about it, it would be really difficult. Not that there's anything weird going on, and I wasn't like trying to like sleep with her, but like it would be difficult to bring a woman into this room and be like, oh yeah, this is where I make content, because it does, that lighting rig and that janky couch, it does look like I'm making weird casting couch porn in here.
It doesn't, because you have fucking Patrick Stewart right there.
Yeah.
And diabetes.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. This was before all of my decor.
Oh, so you just had this?
Yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah, but see, and I'm saying, but even without all of the,
I mean, I think
other
you just
sports
watch too much
stuff.
videos because
I'm thinking of it from a woman's perspective. She doesn't know me.
No,
I think
yeah,
there
yeah,
would be
yeah.
a moment where you come in and you see the tripod and the weird lighting rig, and you just for a moment be like, "What's going on in here?"
well, man, you're walking into a podcast, a home at home
Yeah.
podcast studio, though.
All right. Well, thanks for yes-anding me on that. But the
Did I not? I'm not.
you're trying to make me feel better about it. I don't want to. I don't want to feel
you don't
better.
feel bad. Yeah, that's pretty creepy. Then, right? Did you pay her at least? Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
No, but it just made me think of that though, because if he does like the lighting rigs and all that, it's possible this person did work in.
No,
that
he may have been in the industry because the lighting rigs, they were old. I could tell they were very old. They were like steel and heavy and
Yeah.
like the plugs looked like shit I'd never seen before.
Yeah,
you
the
know.
fake money thing too is.
And he had like for a second I thought he may be into scamming because he had a bunch of printers and like passport
it could
jackets.
be too, but that could also be props.
Yeah,
possibly.
And maybe he just wants a different. It was just the jacket. It was no papers in it. So,
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
All right.
Passport. So
It's possible. I
But
mean,
you
it's
never know.
It's no telling, too. He may have just been like, making counterfeiting pornography somehow too. Who knows? But
Yeah.
it does. But him having all of that stuff seems like a step further than just like gooning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or he may have had a horrific pornography addiction, and then at some point had been like, "Oh, I'm gonna make pornography."
Yeah. Or who knows?
You know?
He was a large American. I know that because
Yeah.
we threw away his clothes.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't sound like he had much reason to leave the house either.
Yeah. Well, he had some pretty decent clothes, but they were just
Yeah.
huge. I didn't do
Massive.
nothing with them. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like a Carhartt jacket. It's like a $300 jacket, but I can't wear that shit.
It is an interesting. It's an interesting find though of all the
Yeah.
things you found.
Well,
so.
I found those stupid wrestling things, and
Yeah.
and we find knickknacks and like dishes, and old people love to keep books,
Yeah,
bro. My
Yeah.
God, books are so
and they're
freaking
so
heavy, dude.
man. Yeah, that is a burden of just all that weight.
And they take up so much space. Like as far as in someone's house, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like
And then also it's dense material for you to have to remove.
yeah.
Well, yeah, that I think that'll take us to the break. This story about the
This guy.
this gooner, but I reserve the right to speculate if this gentleman was somehow professionally involved.
I feel like
the
all that
industry.
stuff he had a Corvette and a Harley Davidson in his garage.
Oh, geez, yeah.
The house was a $300,000 house.
Oh, okay. So
Now,
this is
it would be now.
Yeah,
When he
yeah.
bought it, it was probably two, but you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
but he's not. Didn't seem like a hermit hoarder situation.
no,
Just he was
maybe a little
really-
hermity.
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know how
but
old
not,
the guy was.
Not hoarderish,
No.
really.
Well, apparently he died. He died in the floor of his bedroom, and his neighbor found him like 4 days later.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah.
That's not funny.
No,
That's-
no. But that's how you get the call to get clean out the place. You know?
I keep forgetting about this. I keep meaning to like use these sitcom reactions more during the podcast, but I always forget about them. But that was a great half.
That was a good one. Hey,
Yeah, there we go.
we'll be right back.
Yeah, we'll be right back. I just farted. This is very funny. That's right. We're back.
You're back.
We're back. Please sit down. Please, everyone. Please have a
you,
seat.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Boy, that's a long sound effect. There's like another 30 seconds of that. It goes on and on and on. So yeah, to wrap things up here in the second half, I do want to remind people 847-665-9238. You
Yeah.
can text or call. I promise you can. Just give it
Just
a whirl.
do it.
Take a stab at it.
847-665-9238.
And yeah, so a lot of times the second half of these podcasts we do employee training videos. Some of them are more accessible to us because of they're more in our time frame.
Yeah.
This is a very old one, presented by Reader's Digest for some reason from the 60s about working in a grocery store, and it's called The Front Line. The very first thing I noticed about this video, other than obviously the old graphics,
Yeah.
this music,
Sounds like a Disney thing.
yeah, but that's like, this music is for a video that obviously not lots of people are going to see, and it has to be shot on film, and that's like a full orchestral deal, right? That music is being recorded in a massive studio where they would have recorded like Georgia on My Mind or a Frank Sinatra
there's
record.
a ton of dudes in there.
Yeah,
doing
there's
it.
like 40 people in there, and a conductor, and it's just for this.
Call this a war.
just so we can watch them make some celery.
War
Yeah.
or not, one thing is sure.
Nobody's
A
calling it
daily
a
battle
war. I
is
can
being
say
waged
that.
in supermarkets all over this country.
Did he call it a
battle
war?
for
Yeah,
the
he said some.
customer's
Yeah, it was a little
dollar.
quiet, but he said some people would call this a war. I'm like, you might. Music is
69
If a
cents.
store is to
Yep.
make a profit in the face of today's stiff competition,
39
everyone in
cents
it
for
gives
Jam,
full
jelly.
it's like $3.
Although that makes sense because it is,
But like
a
any
long
battle,
time ago.
victory in this conflict is finally won or lost on the
60
front
years
line.
ago.
Yeah.
Now, see, I wonder if people in everyday life really
With literally
dress like
millions
they
of
showed
dollars
that they
at
dressed
stake.
it. Like if you watch
Success
Mad Men or
is
something like
measured in
this,
Yeah.
and it shows like all the ladies have on very neat dress or
The
pantsuits,
checker
and the
plays
guys
a
have
key
on
role in this
ties.
daily struggle.
It does beg the question too, though, that if, like you said, if everyone dressed like that, but I don't ever see any. I mean, I guess there was like jeans and t-shirt was an option, but there wasn't I just don't think sweatpants were
No.
really
Well, and yeah, like
outside of going to the gym.
And if you had a T-shirt, it was like a solid color with a
Probably
square
no
pocket
job
on it.
in
Right.
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I think it may be a socioeconomic or geographical thing.
Yeah, could
'Cause
be
like,
also.
Like I see pictures of my grandfather from that time. He had on jeans. Now he didn't have T-shirts. So he'd have like a white T-shirt, but he'd have a button-up
Yeah, exactly.
Western style shirt
Yeah.
or whatever.
And I'm sure they dressed them up a little bit for because it's a
Yeah.
production. But I'd be willing to bet that's reasonably accurate, especially all these like rich
Well, I was
housewives.
about to say if you're in the you're Bethesda, Maryland or something.
Yeah.
You know what I
They're
mean?
hard to get rid of. And the analogy goes much deeper. The colors of traffic control, red, yellow, and green,
I don't know how
have
we
a
got
real
here.
relationship
No,
with the
he's going to
science of
explain to you
good
that they
checking.
do that in the
Naturally, the
supermarket.
idea is
Yeah.
to keep things moving, to
I
keep
worked at
that green
Kroger
light
and I had to
glowing.
watch videos similar to this. And they teach you techniques to how to handle the people, and they had a big, probably a 30-minute section on not doing anything about
Good
shoplifting.
checking really boils
Yeah,
down to
I
the
could
same
see that.
thing.
And I think they were
No matter
really
what
big on the young
technique
kids
store
who
uses.
are the baggers and stuff,
To
not trying to be a
demonstrate
hero.
essentials,
You know?
here are three
Yeah.
outstanding checkers. all
This is a
former queens in the
massive
Checker of the Year
production.
competition.
I mean, Reader's Digest was the biggest thing going back then.
B&B supermarkets in Tampa, Florida.
Right.
Here are three outstanding checkers, all former queens in the Checker of the Year competition. Meet Ruth
know such a thing existed.
B&B supermarkets in Tampa, Florida. A checker for 10 years now, Ruth was chosen International Checker of the Year in 1964.
All right, Ruth. This is like the all-star lineup.
Next to Ruth is Pat Hilton of the Alpha Beta Supermarkets in La Habra, California. Pat has 18 years experience and was International Checker of the Year in
You could drive through those
1962.
teeth.
Yeah, Pat, she's holding up okay though, especially for then. Oh,
And this is Rose Scalavino. Rose
now.
has 4 years experience and works for Star
Just
Market.
how redacted are you?
Rose was Checker of the Year in 1963. And here's another checker.
yeah, we are in the second half. Yeah,
Miss Jones is not a Checker of the Year, but she hopes to be someday. She's an intelligent, hard-working, charming young lady.
Says who?
Still a little new to
Yeah,
her
this
job,
seemed-
but learning fast. Like most of us, she could learn a lot just by watching experts perform.
None of that is electronic either. That's all mechanical.
I was just about to
Is
say,
get my
learning that
cash
was
from the
probably an
head
actual
checker.
skill.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing too that you notice.
$5,000 or more may pass through my register.
Dang.
Handling it accurately is one of my
It's
biggest
another thing too about this
responsibilities.
time that you notice when you watch some of
Once
these.
I've got the money counted out and correct,
That everyone, there was a time where everyone who had a job had a uniform of some kind.
Yeah.
You know
No,
what
that's
I mean?
true.
Which I think probably would help with like ownership and feeling like you're a part of something. But yeah,
Is it
that's
zero?
where the term when women would go, "I love a man in uniform." It wasn't necessarily
A cop or a
right or
a
some in the
fireman.
military. Yeah, because because it just meant they had a job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I always
Well, and
try
you know,
to
they
remember
kind
that I'm dealing
of
with
like our
children.
education system is kind of set
means
up
that my
in a
staff
way
has to be
to
spotless.
teach people
My
to be workers.
merchandise
You know what I
round
mean?
is
To
also
Yeah.
you show up at this time, you do what you're told, whether it's necessary or not. You go
Yeah.
to lunch, da, da, da.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
Myself.
so if you have that mentality, then you go to a factory and say, now you got to look the same as everybody else, and you're
Yeah.
all falling in line, and you're doing, you know,
Well,
because it's just a control thing. But also, I think
sure it helps with productivity.
it helps with productivity and it helps with
The
the
idea
business.
is
And like
keep
you were
that
saying,
green light on.
it does
Keep
give
the
a
lane
certain
moving.
amount of ownership and pride.
That's not as easy
I don't
as
know
it
why.
sounds.
Oh, I don't like this kid.
The first order of business is to greet the customer.
How do you
Then
make your
comes the
hair do
important
that?
moment of caution. Is the
I
bottom
don't
of the
know.
cart empty?
They all did it. Like,
I always make
Dude,
certain
this
there
is
are no
all
missed
still
items that might get
now.
too unchecked.
That's
You
what
know
I
what
was
I
just
mean?
saying.
This
This
is
is
a
a
signal
register.
to myself
Yeah.
that I checked the cart.
This is.
And most
They are just like
importantly,
keeping an eye
I
out
keep
for
it
people
pleasant,
walking off
matter
with
of fact.
stuff.
Yeah.
No customer likes to think she is suspected of shoplifting. Ring up the right price and press the right department key. These keys are important to the store's records and planning. Checkers are
Damn, I
bookkeepers,
bet that
too.
was a complicated thing to go
Most
Yeah.
read.
priced items.
Oh,
should be
yeah,
checked
and it's all on
together.
paper.
On
and
thing-
then,
Try
like the
to
day
hold
before
the first
Thanksgiving?
items
Yeah.
together
Yeah.
So they can all be checked.
it's
through at
interesting
once.
too, though, because all these are all like these are all
Multiple
existing
pricing
brands. Like these
prices.
companies have
I'm
been
not much on
selling
fractions.
these products
Oh,
for
forever.
Now
forever.
when I see an
Italian spaghetti
incomplete group
sauce.
like this, I just slow down a second to be sure I've got the price right.
Ugh.
This is
I'm
what
so
the
glad I don't live
fraction
in that
chart
era
is
though.
for.
That
And I
everything
use it.
I'm so
Yeah,
impatient.
dude.
There's
Everything
no
takes so
such
long.
thing as an almost right in this
It's
business.
like when I have to go to the bank.
If I overcharge, I keep the customer.
and fart on people.
Yeah,
If
it's
I
we didn't forget. You
undercharge,
said that
I'm
last week.
unfair
Yeah,
to the store.
yeah. I wish I'd have done it this morning.
Fractions mean you
Forever.
charge the next penny.
People are like,
Dropping
can I
the
get
fraction can be
$25? Or you stood in line to
It
get
might well
$25.
represent the entire profit on this order.
Well, and see, she's talking about the
another pricing
fractions.
problem.
She's
A
talking about
price-
like the fractions of the cents on the orders too. So she's also having to keep track of that, and then that register's doing it without electronics. It's
Yeah.
all mechanical in there, wheels and gears, all keeping track of that. And then this is also part of her gig, whereas now it's just it's a touchscreen.
Maybe that's why they're representing it as an actual job.
Yeah.
Or they would never do that now. It's just you're a placeholder.
Yeah, and and that's probably why there was a Checker of the Year award, because it was a genuine skill, and some people
And you
could
probably
do it.
Some people took forever, and some people were decent.
Yeah,
quick.
and probably being error free
Smeared
was
beyond
probably
recognition.
important. You know,
How do you decipher it?
OG food.
One time I stop everything. I don't guess. I ring for my supervisor and set the smeared item aside until she comes. In the meantime, I can continue putting the rest of the order through. Although I study the prices and know the specials, I'm always on the lookout for certain booby traps.
Studies the
Some
prices.
items, like
oh yeah, because there's no
have
barcode
different
either.
prices
Oh,
for different
jeez.
types.
Yeah, she has to know the price. It has to be labeled correctly, because this is before barcode
Others
readers.
have identical
Dang,
package
dude.
designs, but
Dull
different
pineapple.
prices.
Yeah.
For instance, pineapple chunks at 39 cents and crushed pineapple at 33 cents. It sometimes seems like a lot of worry about a few pennies, but think a minute.
Well, they had to have a lot
With
of
a
shrinkage
store's
back then.
profit
Oh,
margin
yeah.
of about 1.25%, a checker error of only 30 cents means that about $25 worth of groceries must be sold before the store regains the loss.
That's crazy. Those are
It's
tiny
No,
margins.
their margins are nothing. That's
It's a
I
question
remember
of your
that
store's
from working at
success
Kroger too.
or
The manager's
failure.
talking about that.
Yeah.
And once the
Because-
order is checked,
Well,
there
people
are still
assume
some
that
important
Kroger's
jobs to be done.
profiting billions. Yeah, maybe they are, but
Yeah, but that's a volume.
yeah.
Yeah,
but they're
And
feeding
some
half of America,
one of the
and
most
yeah,
difficult.
getting like 1.5 on.
yeah, they got to
everything.
buy the ketchup from Heinz. and
Oh,
then they
yeah.
gotta sell it to you.
Yeah, and then they're responsible for stuff that goes bad or any. Yeah.
I can't imagine the power bill at Publix being less than $5,000.
Handling
Yeah,
money
I know.
is largely a matter
Yeah, all the
of knowing your
refrigeration
rules.
and all that.
geez.
Hold on, this lady handed her a
And
check. What's going on here?
One of the most difficult.
Have fun with my 160 bucks.
Handling money is largely a matter of knowing the rules, following them to the letter.
$60.
Oh, so she's expected to give the lady
There are
change?
many
or-
systems,
I guess. Yeah, I guess
but
if you wrote
generally
a
your
check.
stores will be similar to this. Defer coupons until the order is paid for. Know your store's policy on check cashing and follow it closely. As you accept the customer's money, call the out of amount, such as $12.38 out of 20. Put the check or bill onto the slab and count the change to yourself, then to your customer. And never forget, thank you. Lastly, put the money from the slab into the register. And never leave your position with your register open.
Doy.
Yeah, that's probably a
Coupons
good
are
idea.
simple if you handle them right.
You guys are
After the customer has paid the regular
7 Up
price
still
for her
around?
order,
Yeah.
check her
yeah, I'm
coupon
sure 7-Up still
against
exists.
purchased items. Sometimes people haven't actually bought the goods specified on the coupon.
Yeah, I mean, I recognize
Total
almost every
coupons,
item.
take the cash and refund it to the customer, remembering to do so with a smile. This system makes your job easier and lets the customer know her coupons were credited. Trading stamps are simple, too. Be accurate.
Oh, I
Remember,
remember those
they
from when
are
I was
money.
a kid too. those
Giving a
stamps and
customer
you'd stick them
more
on
than
those
she is entitled
cards
to
and
costs
like
the
it would be
store.
like worth money after you fill these cards up with those.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
The final
but
job
I
of the
remember my
checker
mom
is one
doing
that
that.
most checkers like least, but it's also one of the most important.
Oh, she's about to bag those groceries like a gangster though. Watch, because I guarantee that's part of winning that competition.
Oh yeah, get them bagged correctly and quickly.
Yeah. Here's your groceries.
You big, fat, white, nasty, smelling fat bitch.
This girl looks so confused all the time.
I guess I can't say I've
The
ever
music
enjoyed
is really
packing an order,
this.
but I know
This is
how
a
much
high
depends
production
on it.
value.
Yeah.
It's one part of the store the customer
And they got the little
takes home
clear
with
bag to show you how to do it.
Beginning with the right size bag, I pack heavy to light. That's also the way I'd send the order through if a bagger were working with me. After a solid base is made up,
Yeah, this is
with
completely a
cans and
skill
other
back
heavy
then.
items,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
build
She's
up
looking
the
ahead,
size for
she's
flat.
finding the
Putting
prices,
glass,
all that.
other
Yeah.
fragile
Well, and
items in the
this is
center
obviously
for
not like
protection.
I didn't live then. This
Meat,
isn't like a
frozen
back in the
foods,
day,
and
but
ice
I
cream
did
should
have
always be
noticed
wrapped
though that
separately.
like when I go to the grocery store, if it's newer people there, and there's just some who do
Finally,
it,
light crushables go
where they
on
put like
top.
every item in its own bag.
Yeah.
Like that, there was a skill to that at one point. Like, and you can
Knowing
tell
the
the difference. Like someone who
fundamentals
bags
makes the job
groceries is paying
easier
attention to what
and
they're
helps you to
doing.
do it
Somebody just
better.
throw shit together.
there's
Yeah,
one area
but yeah, I brought
in where
groceries home.
each
It was like
girl
the
brings
tomato
something special to
sauce
the
was like
job.
in its own bag,
Where
and
there
then
are no
like,
universal
but then
guides.
it was like chicken and hamburger and everything in the
Personality
same
is
bag.
something
and,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
the
he's-
checker develops
He
on
thinks
her
that's the proper way. then.
yeah.
She learns to
So it
communicate
doesn't touch your meat or
comfortable
whatever.
pleasantness to her
Yeah,
customers.
well, and I like those. I
Making
understand, but
build
generally
the
too,
store
like I don't
guide
like
them
I wouldn't want like
something
my chicken
Smile
next to my
is
beef.
always
You know what I'm
part of
saying?
the
But also, I've noticed like
The job
one
is
bag
easy
for
when
one
you do
thing.
it
Like,
right. And
oh, you got
people are
dish
generally
soap that
nicer
gets
to
its
deal
own
with when
bag.
you
I'm
treat
like,
them right.
I don't care how you bag as long as you don't crush my bread. And
Yeah.
also, I want less
Checking
bags.
is
Yeah,
never
please.
going
I
to be
don't-
an easy
I don't
job.
need to be
The
throwing away bags.
responsibilities are too great. Just consider how much work a good checker does on a busy day, putting through up to 360 orders, checking some 7,000 separate items.
Damn.
You have to be good. And develop good
7,000
habits,
items
such
by
as
hand.
maintaining space
No
between unchecked
barcode
items
reader.
and those that have
No,
checked.
essentially no automation
girls
other
are
than the
among the best.
machine in the
takes
mechanical.
Well, and the
machine
machine would be the annoying part because
Yeah.
you get to where you could do the
a lot
arithmetic
of
if you just had a
effort.
little you know what I mean? But
No.
But the
entering it in
basics are
to
simple.
be kept as record
Slow
is
down when the situation calls for extra
Get that
care.
bag up!
Stop
Bitch.
completely on those few occasions that require it. And keep the flow moving the rest of the time, swiftly, accurately, and pleasantly. Remembering the fundamentals may make Miss Jones a Checker of the Year one day. It might do the same for you.
This is an interesting.
Special K looks about the same.
Yeah, no, I don't think they've done much with that.
This battle is won on the front line. It's here that the customer has her last important contact with the store. To a large extent, a checker's actions determine whether a shopper will be back. It's a difficult job at times,
Come out of
but
order, I see.
learning the skills we've seen demonstrated will help
bag up.
assure that it's done right and will make your task much easier. In your store, you are a vital member of the team.
It's perfect.
By always observing the fundamentals, you'll be doing your
Fundamentally,
part
you're playing basketball.
on the
Yeah.
front line.
Well, I mean, that's how everything's taught, I guess, to some respect. Yep.
Food retailing industry by Reader's Digest.
Yeah, hopefully these copyrights still aren't valid. I can't imagine they are. But also from this video, you learn that this was back when grocery stores were
all controlled by the white majority in America.
Probably still are, but that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think we've done enough damage here today. I did.
Yeah.
Before we close and before we tease next week, if anyone is still here, it may be interested to know that this is our first ever, and this is probably my first ever total sober podcast.
Yeah, no beer at all.
No, zero beers. I've had coffee, and I felt a little bit more in control. I don't feel quite as confused by what's going on over here.
Okay.
I think this may come as a surprise to people, but I think you actually do perform better in most aspects of your
When
life.
you're not drunk, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Hey, I mean, I just know so many people who are like, you know what really made my life better was when I started drinking a lot.
Well, I had 35 jobs, and then I stopped drinking, and now I've had one.
Yeah.
So you can do that math. And we'll get into some of those jobs next week. I'll
Yeah.
explain how I've worked at 3 different Red Lobsters and been fired from 5 of them, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, fired more times than there are Red Lobster restaurants from
But
3
hey,
of them.
I was slinging some cheese biscuits, baby.
No, we are going to get into some more employment history stuff next week, and I'm hoping to have some more even further interesting training for all of you folks for the second half next week. But we look forward to seeing you there.
Hit the hotline, and see you next week.
Yeah, stay out of the water.
Don't get blarneyed.
Peace.